we have a packed schedule tonight with some very special guests. And so I'm going to turn that over to Carol to introduce our guests. And many of them you know already, but Carol will introduce everyone. So thank you, Carol. We appreciate it.
So our first speaker tonight is someone I know that we all know. Many of you met her for the first time when she ran for office. And she is going to be running again for that office. Thank you very much. I'm glad to see that we will have an incumbent running again, which will be in 2022. Kathy is also going to run as a clean election candidate, which she did the first time, and she's going to do that again. And I know tonight she will update us on that aspect of her campaign. Kathy has been a tremendous asset to the state, and I know for many of our parents, our teachers, our children, in what they've gone through in the last year and maybe year and 2 months. I don't know that Kathy ever thought that that would be what she'd have to face, but she did it with grace, with courage, and I think we're all very, very proud of the work that she has done and continues to do. So without any further ado, I'm going to introduce our current and to be future Superintendent of Public Instruction, Kathy Hoffman.
Thank you, Carol, and good evening, LD17. Such a pleasure to be with you tonight. You know, about 2.5 years ago now is when I was first elected, my first time ever being elected, and I'm so proud that I was the first Democrat and the first educator to be in this position in over 20 years. So thank you so much for your support to help me achieve this. And I knew when I was elected that I wanted to reimagine what the role of superintendent meant. I knew, to me, this is not just an administrator role. And I hit the ground running. I started traveling the state. In my first year in office, I traveled to over 100 schools in all 15 counties, including 7 of our tribal nations. And I knew that through those visits, I could hit the ground, I could be on the ground, hearing from our educators and our school leaders, talking to our students, learning about what there is to celebrate, but also hearing directly from them about what their challenges are. And one of my favorite memories is traveling all the way up to Navajo Nation when I had the opportunity to visit a couple schools there. And in one of those schools in Window Rock, I went to the high school. And I'll never forget, I met with the welding teacher. And he shared with me that although he could easily make 6 figures if he wanted to work in industry as a welder, every year he was coming back to teach his students there so that they would have those kinds of opportunities. And in this welding classroom, they not only had your typical welding machines, which of course I had never used before, but they also had a virtual welding machine, which I got to try out. And so when the pandemic hit last year in March, and overnight we were transitioning to remote, and overnight this crisis hit our communities, I thought often of our students like those in Navajo Nation, those students who are in our most remote parts of the state, and those who do not have the technology or the internet access at home to access their learning. And my second year in office was, as Carol even alluded to, was something I never ever could have imagined. This past 1.5 years or so has been incredibly challenging, but thankfully we've been able to build stronger partnerships and collaboration. We've worked closely with public health experts, our business leaders. I've held weekly meetings with district superintendents. I've hosted educator roundtables and also continued to meet regularly with my student advisory council so that I could hear directly from our students what was going well and what was not going well in terms of this very difficult year for them too. I also launched a couple different task force groups, including the technology task force, which is in the process of wrapping up their work and making their recommendations. And then more recently, I launched another task force called the Arizona Ready for School Task Force, which will be working over the summer months and into the fall, which is all focused on how to best re-engage our families and rebuild that trust so that our students and families feel safe with an in-person return for school in the coming school year. Another exciting area for me has been one of our biggest responsibilities has been to allocate over $4 billion of federal COVID recovery dollars for our schools. So to be clear, this is specifically funding for Arizona K-12 public school education. This is not money that the governor can touch or the legislature. This is going directly to our schools and also to statewide initiatives. So just to highlight a couple of those initiatives that I'm especially proud of, and I want to also mention, these are initiatives where we are really thinking strategically on how can we leverage these funds, working with community partners to make sure that they're sustainable, to make sure that the funding is getting to those who need it the most, and having a substantial reach, a substantial impact for our students and our school communities. So the one that I thought was maybe the most exciting was when we decided to make the investment of $21.3 million to fund 140 new school counselor and social worker positions. So this was to fully fund the wait list of positions of schools that had been requesting these mental health professionals, but that the legislature had not yet funded these positions. So this funding is good for 2 years, and we're super excited that we were able to make this possible. We've also put significant investments towards professional development, offering free trainings and professional development for over 10,000 educators across the state at no cost to them. We've worked with the Arizona K-12 Center so that they can expand their teacher mentoring programs, which will help support teacher retention. And then there's been several initiatives also working to address the digital divide, whether it's expanding broadband access or laptops, hotspots. I do have to say how thankful I am to have Representative Pollock in the legislature. She's been such a great partner in this work. And so I'm just had to make sure to say how happy I am to be working with her. And I think that she is just so great at showing how educators are leaders and also know how to get work done. So I'm so grateful for her partnership and being another fantastic educator leader in our community. And so before I wrap up, I do want to mention a couple of things about my reelection campaign. As Carol mentioned, I am running as a clean elections candidate. And so I kicked off my campaign at the beginning of March. I expected that it would take me many months to raise my seed money. As a clean elections candidate, I am limited to raising about $27,000 for my seed money. But I surprised myself. I was actually able to raise the max in about 5 weeks. So thank you to anyone who contributed to my campaign and to anyone who was thinking about it. Thank you. I'm sorry. I'm actually completely done fundraising, which is a great problem to have. So right now we are very focused on collecting signatures so that I can qualify for the ballot. We'll make sure to put that link in the chat so that you can sign my petition, or if you are interested in helping to collect signatures, we will get you connected so that you can get petitions. And then the other requirement for clean elections candidate is, of course, the $5 contributions, which I will start collecting in August. So with that, I just want to say how excited I am to be running for re-election, because to me, this work has never been more important than it is now as we're looking ahead to the recovery efforts that are needed for our schools. So I'm very excited and very committed to continuing this important work with your support. So thank you so much for having me, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Kathy, so much. And yes, I'm looking for questions. We still have time for that. And I also wanted to mention to a lot of people that you can go on the Equal site and sign Kathy's petitions electronically. So that's another option for you as well. And of course, as we get closer to when your petitions are available, then we will be starting to do as we normally do, start out getting signatures from all our friends, neighbors, and as PCs, that's what our need is to do. And we'll talk a little bit later about efforts that we're going to do as PCs, but this would be one of them. And it's always a great way to make sure that we're talking issues, candidates, and policies out there. So let's see, am I seeing any questions for you? I am not seeing anything right now unless I've missed something. But again, Kathy, thank you so much for bringing to us that information about especially the school counselors. because as we've seen on the news, and I'm sure parents are seeing as well in their environment, so many of our children due to COVID have suffered greatly emotionally, not only educationally, but emotionally. And this is going to be very helpful for us to get them reoriented and supported as we get back into the classroom. So, thank you for leading that effort to make sure we had that type of support for our children as they go back. There is a question here about, do you have a plan, or do we have a plan to help Title I schools in particular? And I guess this year.
Or thank you. Yes, I think that's a great question, Lisa. So yes, the way that the federal COVID recovery funding works, the way it was structured by Congress, was that 90% of that funding goes directly to Title I schools. So it was actually our non-Title I schools that were actually the ones that needed more help in the past year, because our Title I schools received such a substantial amount from Congress through the formulas that was set by Congress. So the way that we actually helped make sure that every school received the support that they needed, or at least something, was that so 90% went basically, the Department of Education was like a pass-through with the funding. The remaining 10% was, we call that like the discretionary or the set-aside funding that the department had discretion over how to allocate that. And so we created a baseline of how much each school should receive. And we've done it a couple different ways depending on the package, but in this last round for the American Rescue Plan funding, the way we did it was ensuring that we looked at the per pupil amount and made sure that each school was getting a certain amount on a per pupil basis. So I know it's a little bit wonky, but basically the Title I schools were the ones that received the most. And so we tried to create a little bit of balance.
Okay. I have seen another question in the chat, and the question is, are the school systems receiving funding to make changes to the school air distribution systems in order to better handle the virus, mitigate future airborne viruses and other diseases? So we know that we heard a lot about ventilation in the classes. So what can you tell us about that, Kathy?
So with the federal recovery dollars, the funding is actually very flexible. So the schools can spend it on replacing their ventilation systems. They can use it. I know schools have been buying the touchless drinking fountains. They can spend it on summer school. They could use it for staff like school nurses, or even other types of school positions like school counselors. So the funding is very flexible, and but we did want to make sure that our school leaders were receiving the best information possible. And so part of what we were doing over the past several months was, when we convened groups of superintendents together, we brought some of those experts to the table. So we had people from facilities who could speak to the ventilation systems and provided them with reports that we were getting from different public health experts, and having the Department of Health Services presenting on these topics. So we really tried to make sure that our district's superintendents were well informed on specifically on things like ventilation. That these are things that they don't learn in school. They don't teach our school principals or superintendents about what type of filtration system is needed for the best air quality. So we really tried to bring those experts to the table, but ultimately it's up to the district level to decide, or the charter level, up to them to decide how they wanted to spend those funds.
Okay, and I'm going to defer to our chair, who apparently had his hand up and I didn't see that. So Steve, if you have a question, you're going to be our last one tonight for Kathy.
Okay. And mine is really quick, and actually to help Kathy out a little bit. I tried to go and give you your $5 donation, and for some reason it's not pulling it up. So I don't know if that's an issue on my side or it's just not up there, but I don't know if you knew any more information than that.
You're too early. I can't start collecting fives until August.
Ah, okay. So everybody, everybody put that on your calendars for August to
Thank you.
donate Kathy's fives.
Thank
That's
you.
all I
Right
have.
now, we're just focused on signatures. Thank
Yeah.
you. I appreciate
So you
it.
can sign the petitions, you just can't give money, but put that $5 away in your wallet till August. We'll take it then.
Yes,
Thank
and
you.
it's just a good reminder that that both Jennifer and AJ have their petitions up there as well, and it's just easier just to go up there and sign it along with Kathy's. So please feel free to do that. It helps out a lot.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Kathy. We look forward to seeing you again. Hopefully, maybe in August, we'll be in person and we'll keep you apprised of that. But just reach out and we'll get you on the schedule whenever you need to come back and speak with us.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk with y'all tonight.
Thank you,
All right.
Kathy. We
Take
appreciate
care.
it.
Okay, so moving along to our next speaker. Our next speaker is somebody here from Chandler. We want to get an idea of what's happening locally here within our community on many issues that COVID has definitely decimated, the structure that we've had to support many of our residents, anywhere from rent, eviction, homelessness, lack of food, so on and so forth. So we invited Riann Balch, who is the City of Chandler Community Resources Manager, to address us tonight, to bring us up to speed on what's happening here in Chandler, and to give us any ideas of what we as a community can do to help support the work that she's doing and our governance and nonprofits here in the Chandler area. So Riann, I'll let you take it away. You have 10 minutes.
Thanks so much, and thanks everybody for having me today. Again, my name is Riann Balch, and I'm with the City of Chandler in the Neighborhood Resources Department, where we do everything human service. So I'm going to give you a really high-level overview of, sort of how the pandemic has impacted our most vulnerable residents. And by that, I mean folks who are low to moderate income, all the way to no income, in terms of housing and other basic needs, and sort of where we're going for the future. Next slide, please. So to set the stage a little bit, I just wanted to point out to you that pre-pandemic, and I'm going to use homelessness as an indicator. I do oversee all of the homeless programs for the City of Chandler. That has been my life's work, along with other social services, but homelessness is sort of my passion. So I tend to always start with that. So that you understand, homelessness has been increasing steadily for more than the past 5 years, probably the last 8 years. But this slide sort of helps you see, there we go, helps you see that it's been trending upwards. And last year, and by last year, I mean 2019, 2020, because this year we did not have the opportunity to go and collect the data. But I have plenty of program data that tells me that homelessness continues to increase at an exponential rate. But last year, you can see from this chart, was the first year that we actually had more persons unsheltered than sheltered when we do our annual count. And that is a trend that's happening all across the country. And so, unfortunately, COVID has just brought extreme awareness about this issue out, which is great, but also has the potential to increase it exponentially. As homeless service professionals, when we were jumping into the 2021 year, before preparing for 2021, back in 2019, we knew that if we did nothing, if we didn't increase dollars or services in our region, and just as a point of reference, we work as a region in Maricopa County to address homelessness because people don't, stay in city borders, obviously. So we address it as a region. If we had not done anything more, we would have an increase of 40% a year. That was pre-pandemic. And that is because of our wages not keeping up with the price of housing. And of course, other factors like inadequate behavioral health care, no answer to when people are re-released from jail, housing costs continuing to rise, et cetera. So I just wanted to sort of set that stage for you. And when the pandemic hit, it actually just made this worse immediately because our shelters had to decrease capacity to socially distance. And so immediately our shelter capacity fell. And in conjunction with businesses closing where people experiencing homelessness might go to get out of the elements or to use the restroom or make a phone call or just have a place to rest during the day. So all of those things closed. Our nonprofits, their lobbies closed. They became less accessible, having to figure out what to do right away. So it was a really tough situation. And so in the next couple slides, what I'm going to talk about is just show you some of the resources that have come to us, not only for people experiencing homelessness, but also for people who are housed, but maybe facing eviction at this point. And that's a really important population because the very best thing we can possibly do at this point is keep people in their homes any way we can. Because once they lose their housing, it's extremely difficult to get it back. Once you have an eviction, it's extremely difficult to find a landlord that will rent to you. So that just compounds the problem. And then, of course, once you become homeless, a variety of other factors weigh in that, keep you down, if you will, and makes it harder to get back to stability. So next slide, please. So I'm just going to review sort of some of the fund sources that have come in for, oops, I'm going the wrong way in mine. There we go. Okay. So we have received quite a bit of funding. Of course, it all comes with its own criteria and regulations and deadlines. And if you have one, you can't have the other, and all of those good things that happen with federal funds. But the city of Chandler, we are, and all of the cities in Maricopa County, we all work very closely together, and we're very adept, public managers. So we know how to do this. Thank goodness, because never in my life did I think, I've been doing this for 25 years, and never in my life did I think I'd see this level of resources, and never in my life did I think I'd have to get it out the door this fast, right? So thank goodness for all of the public administrators out there who caught the money in their hands. So the first thing that happened was the CARES Act passed. And as the city of Chandler, we received about 30 million altogether. And a lot of that went to business programs and police and fire and all of the areas that needed funds, but there were some specific to housing and homelessness. And those were our community development block grant. We received that every year, but we received two, they call them tranches. It's my new favorite word, tranches of federal funding, tranche 1 and tranche 3 of specific coronavirus money. And those dollars are to prepare for, prevent, and respond to coronavirus. So the first allocation was about $850,000. And the second allocation was about 1.5 million. Our first allocation we spent on getting meals out to seniors who are now homebound because they could not either go to grocery stores, go to the senior center where they might get the most of their meals for the week. So we really focused on homebound seniors at that point with meals. We also dumped a whole bunch of money into eviction prevention. So at that point, it wasn't real clear what the moratoriums were going to look like. So a lot of money went to eviction prevention because traditionally you can only get about 1 month of rent utility assistance a year if you're income eligible. We knew that was not going to meet the mark. So we started funding that. I'm trying to think what else we did. We also immediately did some things for people experiencing homelessness. We opened portable restrooms, portable hand washing stations, and we opened some heat relief because summer was approaching and people now had no way to get out of the heat. So if you're experiencing homelessness, very likely you will get yourself out of the heat during the day by going to the library or just going to get a cold drink somewhere where people will allow you to be. And it's very important that your organs cool down, because if you are outside 24/7, it's almost like cooking a turkey. Your organs don't cool down and it leads to heat stroke extremely rapidly. So we knew people were actually in life and death situations. So we were doing everything we could to make space available to people experiencing homelessness. Very quickly, we realized that the loss of congregate shelter was a huge problem. not only the loss of congregate shelter, but what happens if someone experiencing homelessness becomes sick? How do we serve that person? So all across the valley, and I'm proud to say, oh my gosh, only 2 minutes. Am I 2 minutes in or 2 minutes to go?
2 minutes left.
Oh, okay. I better speed up then. So with all of our fund sources, we've really cranked up emergency rental assistance. We have about 15 million now. We've spent about 8 million with some previous fund sources. We have about 8 million left to spend, and you can get up to 18 months of rental assistance. We also have non-congregate shelter utilizing hotels now, so that's wonderful. And then we have a lot of city staff within the new neighborhood resources department, and you can actually go into the next slides and you'll see some of this stuff that I'm talking about. You will see we have people on the grounds to help people who have never been in this situation before navigate how to get to services, how to get to rental assistance, how to get to a hotel room, we also just received 35 new Section 8 vouchers specifically for people experiencing homelessness. So we are just catching the money as quickly as we can and getting it back out on the street as quickly as we can. And if you go to the next slide, so these are just some of the services that we have. We have landlord incentives to take our money. Some landlords do not want to take our money. They'd rather see the tenant who has not been able to pay leave. So that's a big problem for us. So we're doing basically everything we can to shore up people's stability in housing. That's our biggest goal right now. So that 10 minutes went really fast. So I'd be happy to take any questions or answer something more specific if anybody would like that.
Okay. Thanks, Riann, very much for that information and to help bring it home to what we have here in Chandler. Let's see, I have a question here. If someone is struggling with housing, how do they get in touch with you or the resources you could provide?
Sure. So they can go to Ascend. That is our community action program, and Ascend can provide that rent and utility assistance. But it can be very difficult to get through to Ascend because they are very busy managing all these dollars. So we have created what's called the Chandler's Cares team. It's right in our neighborhood resources office, and the number is 480-782-4302. It's actually on slide 5 there. And those are just folks on the phone that can help you get through, fill out the application, find other resources while you're waiting for rent assistance. And another really neat thing about them is we can help you jump the line. So if you tell us your situation, you've already got an eviction, say, you're already on the court docket, you tell us that, we will get you the fast track into Ascend and get your application processed right away. So we're all about, really individualizing service. So please have people call us.
Okay, great. Another question is, are you looking for volunteers, or how can we help you as individual people?
Can help most is by helping our elected officials understand the severe need for affordable housing. And when I say affordable, I mean affordable. We have a lot of developers that come in and they say, oh, we're building affordable housing, and it's not affordable at 30% income. So really dig into that and make sure you know what they're talking about, and help our elected leaders, just understand what is needed and how we can do that in Chandler. I think that's where you can be of the most assistance.
Okay, Riann, thank you. We have some more questions in the chat, but due to the time that constraint we have, if you would like to answer any of those in the chat, please feel free to do that. And for anyone who asked a question that we couldn't get to, you can obviously reach out to Riann and speak with her at your convenience tomorrow, or via the website or email. So
yeah, please feel free to call.
Okay, thank you again so much. Appreciate it, and keep in touch and let us know what we can do. And if you do have volunteer opportunities coming up where you need a bunch of people, reach out, let us know. We'll be happy to supply. I'm glad to know you're here. People. This is great. Okay. Thank you. And now we're going to go to our next speaker, and I see AJ, you have 5 minutes for the Independent Redistricting Commission to bring us up to speed on what's happened there.
Hi everyone, my name is Kurdoglu. You can call me AJ, and I'm going to talk about what's going on with the Arizona Redistricting Commission. As you know, here in our state, we have an independent commission to draw maps for congressional legislative district based on the 6 criteria that you see: the compliance of the laws, equal population, districts needs to be compact, they should respect communities of interest, they should follow the geographic boundaries, and also as much as possible, they should be competitive. Well, those are the rules, and this is the makeup of our commission. Independent chair and 2 Democrat and 2 Republican members in it. So what happened since last time I spoke with you, since May? Well, they did some work. There wasn't, this month was a slow news month on the IRC department, I should say. They get together in the executive session with their legal counsel to learn about some laws, public records, conflict of interest, ethics, and stuff like that. The interesting part is the second one. The new mapping consultant, the mapping company, last week gave a presentation about their initial ideas for the project with a timeline. As you see out there, August 15 will be the census data arrival. From June to September, they're going to listen the public. Listening tours will go on. Mid-September, they will have the grid map, which is basically they're going to divide into 30 legislative districts with equal populations. And then they will have 30-day public review on those. And after that, based on those reviews and suggestion, they will create draft maps. And by Christmas, they might have approved maps. And in January, they will have the maps that they can submit to Arizona Secretary of State. And then today, U.S. Census Bureau gave a presentation, which was very technical, but boy, they have a lot of information about everyone in their hands. And they explain how they're going to share this information with the commission. And also they give a presentation about the privacy. And these are they happen in the public session. And next Monday on June 7th, there is a chance for you to hear from the Chair Newberg. This is, if I'm not wrong, the first time she's doing a public appearance. You can submit questions over here at this email. I'm going to post the links after I'm done. It is organized by League of Women Voters of Arizona. So what are the next steps? Next steps are still the same for all of us. We have to engage and stay alert with what's going on with IRC. We need to advocate for hearings. They still didn't set up the time and schedule for the public hearings, and we have to be ready to testify for communities of interest. Because among those 6 criteria, communities of interest are basically the only one, which is not that technical and can be influenced truly by public. And as they say, there is an app for that. The website representable.org. If you go out there, if you like to play with maps and stuff, you can create your communities of interest and you can submit and share this with others. And because this website allows us share this information so that the map creators will take into account our input. So we have to be ready and stay tuned. And how you're going to be stay tuned, you have to follow the website irc.az.gov. From there, you have a chance to put your comments and suggestions for the commission. They read all of them. YouTube channel is out there for you to watch every Tuesday. I did today. Oh my God, that's fun. And also you can follow our Twitter at Redistrict Arizona. That's the Indivisible Group's Twitter handle. We have to be ready. You have to follow these links so that when time comes in, you can get into call to action. There are going to be a lot of those in, I'm hoping that within the June or July. Well, we're coming to the last 10 seconds. If you have any question, I'll be happy to answer. Email me at ajlan@voteforaj.com.
Thank you, AJ. Thanks for being so timely. And yep, you got it in. So if anyone has a question, please post it in the chat box for AJ to answer. we're going to move on because we do have to get to our other two speakers, and we also have some other business to talk about tonight. So if you have a question for AJ, please put it in the chat. I know he's here and he'll respond to it as he sees it. So with that, we're now going to hear from our Chandler City Council member, Odie Harris. Odie is here tonight to talk about what's going on with the Chandler City Council. Odie, you have 5 minutes, and again, Monroe is your timekeeper, so if you watch his window, we'll keep on track. So Odie, all yours.
Hey, good evening, everyone. I hope that your day is well. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Can I get a thumbs? Okay, you can. Okay, thanks. Sorry, I'm definitely in a non-conventional place at this point, but I wanted to share with you all the importance of the main thing is the non-discriminatory ordinance. Truly need your support because the non-discriminatory ordinance allows and offers opportunities to be extended to those groups that have not been represented in the city of Chandler. Many months ago, I put forth these fundamental workings of it. Since then, we've had a great outpour. I know the elected officials, Representative Jennifer Pollock, along with Representative Jennifer Germain, along with Senator Sean Bowie, along with Representative Mitzi, has all came forth and signed a letter. Not only have they done that, but also the Chandler Chamber of Commerce have came forth and signed a letter. And this is such an important issue that we must all come together and rally behind this non-discriminatory ordinance. As you guys have already seen, Glendale just recently passed their non-discriminatory ordinance. And it's so critical and it's so important that everyone here is reaching out and talking to the mayor, and talking to the other council members about the importance of this particular piece of this ordinance that's going forward. Many want it to be a resolution, which I feel that it does not send a strong message to our community at large. But having an ordinance will send a stronger message. And so I am knee deep. I'm pushing forth that we can get this passed as soon as possible. I need your support. Representative Jennifer Pollock needs your support. We all need your support so that way everyone can be equal, can be treated and have equal rights underneath the law. Also, just want to also let you guys know some of the basic things you can do. Number one, you can write a letter. You can send a letter to mayor and council and say how much you support this type of ordinance. Number two, you can gather and rally some of your groups that you that cares about this type of ordinance. You can rally those groups together and talk to them about the importance of sending a letter to council members so that way they can feel included and say, hey, we don't want a resolution. We want an ordinance. These are fundamental things that we don't want nobody to be left out. And right now, there's a possibility that they could be left out. And so let's all come together and make this happen. The last thing I will announce is that, as you know, Juneteenth is coming up, and that's a big celebration. It's going to bring hundreds of people out. So at the Foley Park from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m., we will be having a Juneteenth celebration right here in Chandler from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. and expect hundreds of people to come out to that. And then right after that, we're going to have culture music in the park. That's going to be right downtown Chandler on the west part of Dr. AJ Chandler Park. It's going to be a great way to bring your lawn chairs and your special clothes containers. You know, as you guys know, we can dine in the park and drink in the park. So that is available for those that would like to take on that and bring your lawn chairs and come and hang out and listen to some great music. Got a great DJ. And it's going to be all happening right here on the 19th of June, Saturday, the 19th of June. You can come to the first celebration. It starts at 5 p.m. It ends at 9 p.m. The second celebration starts at 8 p.m., begins at 8 p.m., ends at 11:30 p.m. So come one, come all, definitely support. And thank you so much for your time. But I only wanted to make those two announcements because I wanted to keep it about the non-discriminatory ordinance. And as always, it's the best time to come out during Juneteenth to meet some of your neighbors as well. So thank you for your time. And I appreciate you all allowing me this time.
Thanks, Odie. And I think that Matt Orlando, when he was here, answered this question, but I'm going to pose it again just in case you have a different thought on it. but we have people here that do not live in Chandler, but obviously we spend money in Chandler. So I'm assuming that we who are not Chandler residents still can weigh in on this non-discrimination ordinance to the mayor and the city council. Is that correct?
Yes, I mean, let's just be clear. I mean, what we're trying to do, we're trying to create a movement to create change. And we need everybody's voice, because some people may have a voice and have a following right here in Chandler that may see that person standing up and writing that letter and posting on their social media and say, hey, I want to get involved. I want to see how we can make this happen. So yes, I encourage and I employ all that can, that have a voice, that has the power to speak up and say, hey, we want to make sure everybody is covered underneath the law, because that is everyone's basic human rights, basic civil rights.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Well, if you have any questions for ODs, because of the time consideration, just post them in the chat. I think OD can answer them. He might be on for a few more minutes. And we're going to move on to our final and last speaker. That is Mark Robert Gordon, who is joining us tonight to give us a 5-minute update on our DNC. So Mark, take it away.
I'm watching Monroe down there. I see it, Monroe. Hello, LT17. Good to see you. I have some good news tonight. Not only are the Suns killing it in the background here, which we need in this community to lift us up right now, but the Democrats held on and exceeded expectations in terms of the margin in the special election in New Mexico's 1st district tonight. We are watching these special elections closely for what it indicates for 2022. It's usually what happens. We watch what happens because we have nothing else in terms of elections, in terms of what trend it might make between the big elections. And of course, we picked up the 2 US Senate seats in Georgia right away. That wasn't a special election, that was a runoff. But there have been 4 special elections since Biden and Harris took office. What was it, 5 months ago? Not that long ago. And it's 2-2, Democrats 2, Republicans 2 in terms of these victories. But here's what is notable. The first ones that came up were the 2 special elections in Louisiana. One was a heavy Republican district. It was a 31-point voter registration for the Republicans district. They won that one by 45. We didn't compete in that one. But the other one that happened in March in Louisiana, it is a 51-49 district, very split district, 51% to Democratic registration edge over 49% to the Republicans. The Democrats won that by 15. So that was in a tight district. So that was in March. That one I count as a really good victory in the South in a special election when there was nothing else going on. In a distraction to bring out Democrats, that we not only held on to a seat there, but we had a good margin of victory. Earlier in May 1st, Texas's 6th district, there was a congressman who died. The Republicans normally have an 11-point registration edge in that district. They won it by 25. So they grew their lead. But the DNC and the DCCC, which are different entities, by the way, Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee and the Democratic National Committee, which I serve on, different entities, but the Democrats didn't compete. We didn't spend, we didn't invest in that district at all. And we were criticized for that because Republicans ended up with a larger margin than their registration edge in Texas. So that brings us to tonight. This was a heavy Democratic district in terms of an 18-point registration advantage, a lot less than the Republican registration advantages in those other districts, but we had an 18-point registration advantage. And so Melanie Stansberry, who was our candidate, has well over 60%. They're still counting votes, but well over 60%. So we've exceeded the registration edge in that district. So the 2 races that really we should be looking at, besides those 2 great US Senate victories in Georgia, the 2 races we should be looking at, an evenly split district, we exceeded expectations and won that handily. And this one, which after being criticized, we started investing into New Mexico to make a statement. and we made a statement. And so this is a good sign. The next big things on the agenda, there may be a few more special elections. I'm not sure about Marcia Fudge's seat in Ohio. What is happening there? I'll have to look into that. But the next big things are this November. The state of New Jersey and the state of Virginia always hold their statewide executive offices, governor, lieutenant governor, treasurer, secretary of state, et cetera. They always hold that in the year prior to the presidential election. So those are the two big signals, and we're going to be watching those. Democrats hold the executive offices. I think we hold everything in New Jersey. We certainly do in Virginia. We want to make sure that we keep that, and that will be a very good sign for us. So the other thing I wanted to report tonight, and I lost Monroe, which is maybe a good thing. As
No, 38, half a minute. I'm sorry.
Half a minute. Okay,
Yeah.
well, I'm going to be quick here. Everybody's tough on me tonight. All right. I'm on the Disability Council for the DNC. And the Biden and Harris administration said that it would be the heaviest investment into the disabled community by any administration, and they've lived up to their word. The FY22 budget includes a $400 billion investment in the caregiving economy. That's part of the American Jobs Plan. That's to include people who are caregivers to make sure that they have the proper benefits and proper payments that they need, which are special payments beyond what was included in the relief bills and the Recovery Act in this current American Jobs Plan, and building the infrastructure in cities and in rural communities to make sure that people with disabilities can get to work, can get to their medical appointments, and just participate in society, to make sure that there's special investments into, yeah, I see you, Monroe. I see your investment. Don't you have a Suns game to watch? Come on. Make sure that there's a special investment for people with disabilities. So they've lived up to their word, and we're proud of the Biden and Harris administration.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it.
He's going to hold those 10 seconds against me next time. I can tell he's smiling.
Yeah, we'll bank it for you. We'll bank it for you.
I would just tell you that we're really glad you're here, and we really hope that you come back. It's the people of this organization that make it great. And I just want to say, I am so proud of the work that we're doing. We are putting ourselves in the community, and they're recognizing that. And I can almost guarantee you that the Republicans aren't talking about homelessness and things that affect our community. So I'm just proud of everybody that's here and attending, and that's, just putting forth any effort to try to make things better. And so I'm just really proud of this organization.